Hi, Kyla.
Hi, Kristin. It's good to see you.
Same. So good to see you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. I don't actually usually do these conversations on a Friday, and I was like, this is the way because I feel like I'm going into my weekend. So excited to be here in conversation. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So Kyla and I met, I was trying to remember the timeline and it doesn't really matter, but it was not that long ago, but it was also long enough ago. It was through a National Association of Women Business Owners conference or a networking event or some get together.
Yes.
And she stood up and talked, introduced herself. And I immediately was like, hi, I'm Kristin and we need to be friends. We had a kind of similar, I guess I would say parallel way of talking about our work and the work that she was focused on at the time. And soon after, we got to coffee, and that led to a few more coffees, and that led to Kyla sharing some great wisdom with me and one of my all-time favorite hacks
Mhm.
for when you're building something solo that we'll share later with the folks that are listening. She is just a kind spirit, quick to laugh, shares openly. Every single woman I chat with is wicked smart, so that just isn't obvious. I think I don't need to say that part, but I will anyways. I just recently I looked at your LinkedIn again, and I saw that your headline is now Strategic Guidance Powered by Empathy, and I thought, oh, that couldn't be more perfect. I feel like that is what a beautiful way of talking about the work that you do. So I can't wait to hear about what you're focused on now. Um, some things have shifted since we first met for both of us, actually. But let's start maybe a little further back before we get to the today. Maybe just give us a little bit of a brief summary of kind of what your career journey has looked like. Where did you start? And what has been kind of your focus as you've evolved into the state that you're in now?
Absolutely. Go way back in the recesses of,
This is one of my former peers would say, "Tell me your life story,"
hey,
just to
thank
give
you.
it all.
No, I love that. I love that because I'm a big proponent of looking back and reflecting.
Mm,
I think we learn a lot from going backwards and taking a pause and thinking through those things. And then it obviously propels us forward. So for me, looking back, I go, oh, the leadership part of me has always been there. I'm the oldest, four kids,
hmm
three younger brothers, and so I was always running the show. So just naturally in my family, I was the leader.
Yep.
And, being the only female, you just kind of pick that up and
Listen, the curse of the oldest sister. That is also
right.
me. Two
Right.
younger brothers, and so it will
Okay.
always be.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. See, this is why we're kindred spirits because
Yes.
we both recognize that from an early age. And then from there, to be honest, I was a little lost at what I was going to do. What was I going to be when I grew up? I think because I'm an oldest, because I'm very driven, that was overwhelming to go, oh, I don't know. I don't see the whole future in front of me. But because of that, that gave me pause. I started out my career journey, believe it or not, in cosmetology. I
Oh, wait, I do remember you sharing that with me. Yes, yes.
So I went through a cosmetology program, received a license. I still hold a license. And in that process, I recognized that I don't think I want to do salon work forever or be in what I thought I was. My dream was to do hair for the stars, right? And that was kind of my fun goal. I always wanted to do something kind of in that entertainment space. I used to sing, I used to dance, do that stuff as a kid. But then when I was ending my time with the school, there came a point in my schooling where we had this random day. It was prom, and there was no receptionist at the school. And my forte was not updos. I was more of a hair colorist, haircuts. That was my jam, not doing all the bobby pins and all. That was just not my forte. And here come this whole group of high school students who need their updos, and there was some admin work that had to be done to get them registered in the system and assigned to the different student stylists and all of that. And I raised my hand and said, "Oh, you know what? I can do that. I saw an
Mm.
opportunity that I could. This is not my skill set, and I don't want to mess any girl's hair up for
Not on prom.
it's
Not
not
on prom.
no,
Nope.
no, I don't want to do that. So what if I organize this, because that was a secret skill that I always was really good at, organizing this. So
Mhm.
I helped match up the students to the stylists, and went through all that process, wound up working at that school after my time being a student was up. And it was just a natural progression for me to learn how to be a leader when I wasn't feeling prepared to be a leader.
Mm.
And that is kind of the kickoff to the career journey I've had. I like to say I've worked in all different sectors, and it's very true. I've done private, I've done public, I've worked in small businesses. I have now working for myself, my own company.
Woo-hoo.
Every opportunity, it's kind of been because I have been able to take that risk and say, you know what, I don't feel very prepared, but I'm going to do it because I see that this needs to be filled. I'm very much in the strategy space. That's
Mhm.
why you see that as my, it's not just my tagline, that's just how I lead. That's how I think about things, not just from a real tactical perspective, but also from the lens of how are people being cared for.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think I'm like trying so hard not to smile too big because I'm like, yes, yes, all of this, 100%. One of the women that I spoke with recently, and I've been raising this a lot in recent conversations because she is early grad, right? So she just graduated
Hmm.
from school a couple of years ago from college, and in our conversation, she was saying that holding the tension between impossibility and possibility in this moment, where it's like everything is a possibility, and yet also some of like that overwhelm and the like, where do I fit in this world kind of moment. And I think it's hard at times to share that wisdom backwards, which is it's going to be fine. You're going to find your way. You're going to find your path. And it might take you some zigs and zags, maybe not even a zig and a zag. It's just that sometimes we think of things in these linear fashions, but
Oh,
ultimately everything is stacking to wherever you're headed. So it's interesting for me to hear you say that there was kind of that moment too, but you quickly saw how some of your secret skills could be applied. And I wonder, do you think you were aware of that at the time, or is this kind of like in hindsight you can see it that way?
yeah. I wasn't fully aware of it at the time. My mother probably would say, "You can do anything."
Yeah.
My biggest champion. I come from a long line of very strong women.
Yes.
So she probably would say that. But for myself, I was just, I was young, I was insecure. I was always younger in my class. So I think that there were challenges that I was going, I don't feel like I'm really ready, or I don't know that I have these strengths. I think I used to struggle with that question when people would ask, what's your talent and what's your skill?
Hmm.
And I would always kind of stumble because I felt like, well, I can do different things, but I didn't see them as for what they were until later on in life. And now
Yeah,
it feels much more. But I think that just takes time.
I do too.
That's just part of it. But unfortunately, when you're younger, you feel like, oh, I have to have the perfect answer, or at least I shouldn't say not. Maybe not everybody
An
feels,
answer.
but
Yeah.
that is how I felt. Like I have to have the perfect answer. And
Yes.
slowly over time, I started to learn that it's easier to start somewhere and then you can adapt. My mom, here she comes again. I'll probably mention her a lot. She would say
Love
it's
it.
easier to steer a moving ship. And that analogy is just, really carried me. It's going, okay, you can either just sit here and it's going to be a lot harder to start, or just start and
Hmm.
find it. I've seen that kind of phrasing as well, as, it's make it exist and then make it better type of
Yes.
mindset.
Yes. The action begets action, right? Like
Yes.
and I think especially as we're out on our own now, that lesson is like all the way important, right? It's if there's no
Absolutely.
one telling you what to do and when to do it and how to do
Yes.
it, it's like, well, you better just do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Which for a recovering perfectionist, and I don't know if you've had to navigate perfectionism over the years as a
Super.
firstborn, in some ways it's a blessing and a curse because I think in some ways it makes us strive for excellence and be great at what we do.
Oh,
And at other
absolutely.
times, it can be this full weighted burden of, well, if I can't do it perfect, then I'm not going to do it at all. Or if I don't have everything lined up perfectly, then I can't do it at all. And I think I too, over the years, have had the genuine um, experience and really like opportunity to be kind of thrown into the deep end at times where it's like, well, you better figure it out. And at the time, I would have told you I hated that. I was real mad. Like, why would you do this? Why would you throw me in when I don't know what I'm doing? But ultimately, it did me a huge service because I had to get over the perfection. I had to get over that over those years, but still working on it. Not there all the way, but getting there.
And I would say, because I know this about you, I'm wondering also if motherhood or parenthood, just in general, helps with some of that. Because I know for me, nothing humbles you more than a 4-year-old and what their
Yes,
needs are and what their wants are. And as they're coming into the world and you don't have the control over that sniffle turning into a full-blown cold and changing your schedule and your day and all those things, I think that definitely were other things along the way. My faith is a part of that, but I think becoming a parent shifted a little bit of how I saw being perfect and making sure things were always in their order and realizing I have to prioritize because there's another being here that can't do all of these things. And I think that just puts it in a different perspective. I don't think you have to have a child to get that
100.
perspective, but that's helped me get that perspective.
100%. I feel like I fought against that, if I'm honest. Like it took me a minute, and there's still moments, right,
Oh,
where
yes.
I feel like I'm like, okay, I've got this week. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then you're like, wait a second, I forgot it's the start of the school year. I didn't forget,
Mm-hmm.
but I forget what
Mm-hmm.
that means as a
Yes.
household, where you're like, oh, our
Yes.
lives are 100%. There's been something at the school every single night this week. There's been sports. There's been, whatever. My husband was in an accident a couple weeks ago. Everything's fine. But it, again, there's like these things that just pull
Yes.
you out of whatever thing you think you're going to be doing. And I am getting better at leaning into that instead of fighting against it. That expression of like, don't hold on to the twigs and the branches in the river as you're flowing down. You just have to let go and let the river take you. And that is really, really hard. In
Yes.
theory, it's like, well, yeah, sure, just let the river take you. I'm like, oh, where's it going? Is it going to go over the cliff? Like, am I going to wind
I
up
feel
in
like I
the.
know where this is going before it takes me. I need to know where the destination is. Do I need
Yes.
enough things? Am I wearing the right clothes? Yeah.
That's right. Is there a life vest? Like, what's happening over here? Yes, I just had this experience recently over the summer, and I'm so curious for you, and I want to ask this question for you, but a big part of my reasoning behind building my own practice now has been so that I can create my own future, so that I can create my own schedule, so I have autonomy, so I can be with my family in the ways that I want to be with them, et cetera, et cetera. But over the summer, we had a really shortened summer schedule this year. It was 2 months back to back. And so it felt really fast and furious. The kids will go to camp, but then the camp gets out at noon or two or whatever. And I had a few weeks, maybe the whole first month, where I was like, well, no, but I have all these things I want to do. And so I felt almost resentful on some days where I'm like, ugh, I have to go pick them up at a certain time. And I had to really tell myself, like, hold up, get over yourself. The whole point of this was so that you could be with your kids and you could be present and you could be doing the things. And so I have found that the lesson for me most recently has been not in being great at it yet, but at least being aware of it. I'm now in a phase of my life where I'm like, okay, I can see this for what it is now. And now I can work on that differently than before, where I would have just fought against it the entire summer. You know?
I think you hit on something important too of when you see it in the box that it's in. This is just for this summer. We know
Mhm.
that things are going to change. It's going to change again. It's fall. Well, we know it's going to change again towards the end of the year. So I think keeping that mindset of that this too shall pass sort of mindset,
Yeah.
just because it's like this right now doesn't mean that that's going to be like that later. And if I can hold on during this time, I know it's going to be different at some
Yes.
point. And,
Yes.
and
Living in the present of what is. It's a constant evolution, I feel like, of
yes,
that harmony of trying to figure out how all of these major components in your life work,
yeah,
hopefully in service of each other for the most part,
yeah,
obviously, not always. So yeah, tell me about what drove you to entrepreneurship, and also part one is what brought you here.
yeah.
What made you want to jump out and do your own thing? And then maybe tell us a little bit about what you're focused on.
Absolutely. So I think just like the other things I talked about, there was just opportunity and freedom to go, you know what? Let me step back and look at my life and look at where things are going and what I really want to be involved in and doing for my career. I really have had that entrepreneurial brain since birth. My dad's been an entrepreneur and
Mm,
I got to witness him and how he worked with his own company, sometimes full time, sometimes part of the time, just depending on what was going on in our lives growing up. I didn't expect that I would start my own company, but I had sort of dabbled in that mindset for a while. So, cosmetology, that's small solopreneur businesses, could be much
Totally.
larger, but that's part of that. I went to school for a few different things that all added up to where I am now. I had an associate's in medical office because I thought, oh, maybe I'll work in the medical field. I wasn't going to be a doctor, but something adjacent because that was always interesting to me. But again, that pulled that strategic mindset from me.
Mm,
My undergrad is psychology. It's where that sort of empathy, holistic approach comes from. And if I had kept going, there again, entrepreneurship that could
mm,
have turned into my own practice, that type of thing.
mhm,
And then most recently completed a master's in organizational learning and effectiveness. And at the time, that helped me propel my career to more of an upper director, managerial roles. And that started to get me thinking of I'm kind of running my own departments, my own
mm,
initiatives, and maybe there's a point. I dabbled very briefly in some fashion stuff, didn't really go anywhere at the time. I think I was just a little too ahead of the curve, but that was definitely something that was my first sort of bigger step into owning my own business. And the timing right now, just it all fit together to go,
mm,
you know what, I'm involved in a lot of things and I'm being asked for my knowledge and my strategies and being asked to kind of consult and guide. That's why I use
mm.
the guidance in my motto there, because that's what I've been doing my whole life. And this just all lined up. I have a great supportive partner who, my husband, who's like, yeah, I said, I think I want to start this. He goes, all right. Crazy? He's like, yeah, but okay. He's very risk adverse. And he's like, well, I think it does make sense. But he's always amazingly supportive of me. And I
Amazing.
started to model it out because again, here comes that oldest daughter perfection. I had a whole business plan. I created a whole slide deck for my husband about how
Yes.
going to start this business. And all I did was say, I think I need to start the business. And he goes, yes. Like I created a whole, like 12-page deck because I know he's very analytical and I appreciate that about him. We pair very well
Yeah.
together because he pulls me in when I need to be pulled in and I push him when he needs that little
Mm.
push. But he was like, yeah, just go for it. Okay. All right.
Oh,
You just
what? You don't want to see this beautiful presentation I made for
in
you?
my plan. Yeah, I had already formed the plan. So what I mostly do and what I look to do is work with people on workforce issues. There's stuff that I'm doing right now that's really about workforce system initiatives, which is great. My heart is really in the workforce people. It's all people. We say
Yeah.
these big terms, workforce development, leadership development, small business development, all things that I have done throughout my career. And it comes down to the people and how we engage and how we interact. And anytime I can find opportunities to work with both entrepreneurs, the people that they eventually hire, those challenges that they face when you have multiple generations in a workplace or needing that flexibility that's looked different than it has maybe in years past. I really get excited about that. And so that's really where my focus is really that guidance, but rooting it in empathy. So it's not just general strategies and business plans, but really putting people at the heart of it.
Mm, I love that. So are you focused mostly, or is it yes and with working with individuals directly, or is it more org focused where you're working with like leadership on what their systems look like internally?
It's a yes and. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a yes and. I kind of evaluate where can I help and
Hmm.
where can I be successful here? And that might be with an organization that needs some strategic thought, some evaluation, needs that type of support. Or it could be with that person who's just starting out and going, I need some help just clearing my brain because you don't have
Mm.
that coworker the same
Yes.
always. And maybe you're the only leader. Maybe you do have staff, but you're really you're the founder, CEO, and they're doing the thing and you're trying to figure out how to keep things going, keep it moving, and figure out how to really structure your future focus.
Yeah.
I like doing that with people.
I love when we were speaking earlier, your kind of way, it is about the whole human and this holistic approach to thinking about workforce and what it means for soft skills and all these other things, but also your recognition that we've kind of entered we continue to enter these new moments, but post COVID, if we can call anything,
Yeah.
post anything, but the generational shifts, the remote work and versus RTO conversations. I just read a terrible stat the other day about the drop off once again of women in the workforce,
Yes.
almost as bad as it was during the years of COVID, because as folks are being asked to return to office, we do not have the systems in place or the infrastructure in place to take care of our families. And so women inevitably are going back to caretaking in the home. And so I think to your point, we think about workforce, these words come out, but the ultimate reality is these are people's lives
Yes.
and how we're thinking about the future generations and generational wealth. I mean, all of that is tied into whether or not you can even stay in the workforce in the first place.
And if we aren't creating better structures to help people engage in the workforce, kind of the nice thing now is we have some other options. They're more creative and looked as like, well, that's not traditional, but having access to the internet and being able to create things a lot more easily. You don't necessarily have to have a brick and mortar as an entrepreneur and do a thing.
Totally.
You can do some things by your phone. You can earn that income. You can set those things up. So I think one of the things I like to do is to talk to people about how can you be flexible? Where are the ways you can be flexible here and not, require maybe that full policy, but maybe think about it a little bit differently, which can be a challenge. And not every job can be that way. And that's a reality too. But also, okay, if you are a mom, a parent, caregiver that's had to come fully out of that traditional career, what are there other opportunities that maybe we're missing helping support in that way too? So that's always something that I'm very much mindful of and try to bring up in the spaces I'm in when there's an opportunity to think of it differently. How do you encourage that entrepreneurial mindset, whether you're working for yourself or working within an organization?
Yeah, totally. I think ultimately there's still this maybe more traditional way of thinking of business ownership and entrepreneurship, right? I'm curious for you if you'd be willing to share what has been a challenging moment for you, or maybe not a moment, but is there anything that you have found to be challenging as you're going out on your own and as you're building and as you're thinking about what's next?
I think it probably goes back to a lot of things of the timing, the pressure of what's the right thing to do at the right time. And, oh, I expected to be over here, and maybe that's not going as quickly as I thought, or other things maybe going faster than what I thought. So just being able to sit with that to go, okay, here's where I've kind of set this course in motion, and these are some goals I've set. But that timeline may look differently than what I fully anticipated, and making sure I'm kind of coming back to grounding myself in, okay, what's the priority? What are the true goals? And where that fits in the timeline may have to shift, but that doesn't change what I've set out to do and what I'm trying to accomplish. I think you kind of alluded to my little hack before, but that's really where it came from, is treating myself even before I was a business owner, going, okay, I need to strategically plan or have meetings with myself and go,
Yes.
hey, this is what this quarter looks like, or this is what this year looks like, whatever made sense at the time. And that practice still stands with me. And it's something that I'm, happy to do with other people and guide them through that process, or even just share over conversation like we had talked about. And it's definitely kept me grounded. And so I think that that really helps in those moments where I am frustrated because of some internal pressure I put on myself. It's not even someone else's pressure.
Always, it's always our own. It's always our own. Yes.
Hey, nobody knew that you were going to do that. And it's okay that that didn't happen. Yeah, there's certain, regulatory things that you have to keep up with. But some of these other things are going, that was just an arbitrary deadline you had for yourself. But it's not really mattering in the grand scheme of things. Let's
Hmm.
come back,
Yep.
reel it back, and then go from there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But I do think as an entrepreneur, that is deeply important is that you
Absolutely.
have an ability to give yourself those deadlines as if you were on a team or if you were leading a team or if you were an employee, whatever. I have the image in my head of sitting across from you at coffee and you saying, well, did you do quarterly retreats when you were leading a team, or did you do X, Y, and Z when you were working at an office? And I was like, well, yeah, of course. And you're like, well, why wouldn't you do that for yourself? I'm like, oh my gosh, listen, oh my gosh, you are so right. And it has now become, I shared with you, I did a post on it recently because it has been so impactful for me. And I think we can sometimes imagine that there's these big things that need to happen in order to feel like you're grounded or like you're moving in the right direction. But it can be as simple as one day a quarter. That's it. Of course, there's small practices throughout the rest of that time, but one day, everybody can manage one work day of getting quiet and removing everything off the calendar. I know it can seem impossible, but and it goes all the way back to the first thing you shared around reflection. It is important to look back and look at what we've done because I think we, not just women, but women in particular, do spend a lot of our time just forward focused. We're not really used to celebrating our wins or thinking about the impact that's already been had. It's like, cool, what's next? What's next? And I think I'm shocked every single time I do this practice now to look back at the 3 months that led up to that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did so much shit, or so much that has happened in that short
Yeah.
time frame. And so to allow yourself to see that and put it all out there and then use that to guide yourself going into the next quarter, the next half of the year, whatever it is, it's totally changed the way I look at the work and it's changed my honestly my appreciation for the work. I think it also takes you out of the day to day, what can feel like a slog at times of one foot in front of the other. Keep building, keep going, keep showing up,
Yes.
go through the challenges, but then also recognize that those little quiet wins along the way, they also sure do add up. And it's now become my favorite 4 days of the year.
Yeah.
So
And that's so exciting. And it was such an honor, both the fact that you recognized me in that post, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she shared that because it's been so important to me. And I was so glad to hear that it made an impact for someone, including yourself. That shift in the mindset, because you're exactly right. As women, a lot of times we focus really in on it's all an uphill climb. And I'm a woman of color, and that's a constant message that gets played. It's like, you're never quite there. Well, sometimes you have to stop and pause, and maybe the world or other people may say you're not there, but if you can say for yourself, hey, but I have made progress and I feel
mhm.
good about this progress. And here are some things I'm going to continue doing and ways I'm going to continue to show up. That makes a world of difference because you can't control what
Absolutely.
other people are going to say or think about you, but you can, in some ways, control how you set yourself up for success.
Mm,
And looking back is a great way to look at the patterns and see, oh, you opened with that great question of take me back. And then I was able to, in my mind's eye, go, oh, yes, I'm seeing all those little steps and remembering that so that when things do get hard, because they do, and
mm,
there are times where this journey is lonely. You don't
mm.
have the same coworker, you don't have the same camaraderie. It's important to engage with people who are in similar spaces. But ultimately, a lot of times when you're doing the solopreneur thing, it's on me. And how do I keep motivating myself to keep doing this too? And I think that's
Yes.
another way outside of the deadlines and everything to go, yeah, this is why I did it. This is why I started it in the first place. And
Right. Do you find yourself, my husband was making so much fun of me the other day. He's like, if I catch you at 2 a.m. doing what you're doing right now, because I can tell you are in it. He's like, you are trying to crack a code to something. I mean, it sounds so silly, but I'm trying to set up, I'm going to be moving to a new platform to house all of my work and my content, whatever. And like, but to do that, it's a little complicated. And this is not my jam. This is not my skill set, but I'm going to make it happen.
yes,
And it is not where I would typically find my joy or where I would feel energized or
yes,
inspired, but I am so in it that I'm like, I will make this work and I am going to make it happen. And I can see the value it will provide future forward. Are you finding that at all as you're building what's next?
makes a difference when your weekend goes, oh, you know what? I actually want to get back into what I put down. I still stay traditional in terms of my general schedule. It's again,
Same.
kid, family,
Yeah.
what I'm doing doesn't make sense for me to alter that. But so it is kind of nice to go, okay, it's Friday afternoon. This is kind of that wind down, look ahead to the next week. And then I'm not having the same Sunday scaries as,
No.
maybe early on in my career, I would have felt like, oh, okay, here comes Monday. What am I going to do? It's a different excitement.
Yeah.
It's a different excitement because I like to learn, as you heard from my academic journey. I do best when I'm learning new things and being challenged in a way.
Mm.
And yes, that inspiration, middle of the night inspiration is my jam. I've never been a great sleeper. So
Same.
when I find myself at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just sitting there, like I could either scroll or I can go get some work done. That's
That's
how I
fair.
got my master's program done with my little baby and everything. She was sleeping in her room, and then I was up typing the paper in the other room after, feeding her at night. So it's just one of those practices I think that's still stuck into this
Totally.
phase. And it is exciting and it is cool because you get to use your brain in a different way than I think you necessarily do if you stick to one path or the other. Absolutely, all jobs have different challenges to them, but this you have to be very flexible and you have to be willing to learn something new or
Yeah.
put yourself in a position where you can hire that out or find a different resource for it. But usually in the beginning, it's you trying to figure that out, and
Totally.
then you
Yes.
kind of know, okay, once I get here, I don't want to do this anymore. And then,
Yes.
yes.
I wonder if you have a thought on this, and I don't yet. I'm still honestly trying to work it out in my mind. It's just as we're talking, I recognize that as we are talking about wanting to give a lot of our time to what we're building, and there's also this conversation around hustle culture and this other conversation around protecting your time and your peace. And it feels like there's a lot of chatter right now and people with big opinions on how to either not have hustle culture as part of your life. And I think I find myself questioning this at times because I'm like, well, if you want something though, it requires work and it requires commitment and it requires you to show up. And yet, of course, we don't want to overwork ourselves to the point of burnout, right? So what is that? What are we working towards and what are we calling it?
Well, it's an interesting thing. I wish I could remember her last name, but her first name is Diane. She's presented at an event that I went to, and she plays the violin. And I believe her book is called Flow, and that's what she kind of calls
Okay.
it, is flow and getting into that rhythm. And when you find yourself in that rhythm, that's when you know you're in the right space, you're doing the right thing, or you have the right tools around you, because it doesn't feel like a hustle. It just feels like it comes as easy to you as it does the way she plays
Mm,
and the music
mm.
that you're hearing, or you seeing a dancer and their fluidity and their moves and all of that. I think that that's where that shift can be taken from you're just hustling and not really getting anywhere, more of like a hamster wheel mindset. I talk in analogies. Sorry, that's just
Yeah,
how
no, I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
I uh, versus you're pacing yourself at the right times in a different way because that
Mm,
hamster wheel is just spinning and it's never going
yeah.
anywhere.
Mm,
Whereas in more of these other places or the ways that you're thinking of your work, it's getting you to something else. And I think that that's a little bit of that difference. I think the other
I
thing
like
too
that.
is for yourself, non negotiables and
Mm,
the way that you can go, okay, whether it's paid work, volunteer, things I'm doing with my family, here's what I'm willing to do and here's what I'm not willing to do. That's again that reflective mindset of going, okay, if I know that these are the boundaries of what I want to do with my time or how I want to extend myself and the energy I want to do, then that's how I have to be a little disciplined as an
mhm.
entrepreneur or a leader because I could quickly burn myself out pre husband and kid. Oh,
No,
that's
forget
10 hours.
it.
Yeah, easy. There's
Yes.
no one reining that in. But that wasn't healthy. That wasn't
No,
helpful for
right.
life enjoyment. And then now, some of it is a forced, like, my kid has to be picked up. And if my husband can't
Hmm.
pick her up, we don't have family close. That's it. It's us two. So
Yeah.
that's the boundary. And that kind of creates that in a natural way. And it's going to look different for everyone. But for me, that's how I feel about it and how I think about
Mm.
it is this taking my energy? Then maybe that's more that hustle. And some things are just going to, because that's just
Totally.
do it. But if it's an option, why are you doing that? If it's taking,
Yeah.
or why are you doing it at that time? Can't you do it a different time? I think that too can happen is we sometimes we think very linearly and traditionally,
Yes.
this is how it has to be. And then you stop and ask that question of why? Do I have to schedule this meeting at this point of the day? And I was given all these options. Why am I picking the worst one for myself? If I know I have more energy later, or if I know I have energy early, why am I scheduling this task for myself at the end of the week when I know I'm
Hmm.
not going to engage the way I want to engage or show up the way I want to show up? So
Yes.
I think that that can kind of shift that hustle mindset to more productive and more,
Mm.
and it's not going to be perfect. It may change
No.
hour by hour, day by day, but that at least can give you some framing for it,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a really beautiful way of thinking about it because I think, there can be so much noise in the world about the way you're supposed to do something or the way it's supposed to look or feel.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you're the only one living in your day. And so you have to set it up in the way that works for you. Why do you feel like if you don't start your day in front of your computer at 8:30 a.m. that you've fallen behind? It's just in my brain. It is something that is so ingrained in me. And I have had autonomy, very, very, very grateful for the amount of autonomy I had even in my last full-time role. So I've had years of the opportunity of trying to peel some of that back. And I still struggle with it. I still do.
And then I think some of it's trial and error. Again, just like when you
Totally.
were in traditional roles, you had trial and error about how things were implemented.
Yes.
You had a directive, how you implemented, and maybe sometimes it went exactly how you thought, and sometimes it went nothing like you
Yes.
thought, and you make those adjustments. Same thing in this space of going, okay, that didn't work. Let me think about it differently. And how can I set myself up for better success in the future?
Totally. Again, a little bit of a reflection moment. When you think about what success meant to you when you first were starting in your career, or you envisioned what success might look like in the beginning, has that evolved over time when you think about what that looks like for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think at various times it's meant a title, various times it's meant what's that paycheck look like? And those are important. And I think that they have an importance. Let me say it that way. They look different in different spaces and in different ways. But I think that, and I think this will continue to evolve. I think you'll talk to me next year and it'll be a different answer, probably, right? And for me, success was like, oh, I'm owning this space that I've crafted for quite a bit of time. And now that's what looks successful. Having a business, Kyla Bryant Consulting, something that has my own name in it, it feels good. It feels
Yeah.
wonderful. I get to still work with some great organizations and great groups and continue to do that work in different spaces. But now I get to do it under my own name and branding in a different way, right? People
Mm-hmm.
recognize my name, but now I can kind of formalize that. And that's what looks like success for me because I think for a long time, like I said, little 17-year-old me was totally lost and wasn't sure what she was doing with her life. She never would have imagined the academic journey she went on or the different careers she's had. But I've been able to take all of that and now create something new. And who knows what I'm going to do next? I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily envision this thing, but
Yeah.
it's exciting because I can go, okay, this is where I built up to. And now that feels like success for me. It feels
Mm.
grounding and I feel grounded and settled, I think is what's
Oof.
like.
That's awesome. Yes. I feel like grounded and settled. Those two words feel like, for me, that is it. There is nothing else outside of that. Of course, all the other stuff is great. Yes. Like who doesn't want to make money? Yes, we all want these things for sure. I'm not going to say no to that. But the foundation of being
Mhm.
grounded in that, I
Yes.
do think allows for a different, um, just a different way of being with that success. I'm curious if I've got two questions for you before we wrap. One is as we think about women that are either kind of earlier or middle career that might be navigating their own evolutions or thinking about what it means to be in new leadership positions or maybe taking on bigger leadership roles. Was there anything that you found surprising about being a woman in leadership at any point in your career?
Mhm. how surprising.
Yeah.
Now, again, and I'm going to say this, and I don't often say this because I don't often make my skin tone the thing, but I can't ignore it, right? It exists. So I think a lot of times my lens wasn't so much from surprise me as a female, it's more of surprise me as, oh, a Black woman in leadership
Mm,
and
hmm.
what that came with and some of the resistance I felt in that way. Then I'd have to sit with myself and go, was it because of this, or the
Mm,
combination of the two that I bring to the table?
yes.
That's the reaction, why I received a reaction that way. But I had, even from a young age, I had really solid parents who just kept instilling that confidence and kept instilling, worth and value and our faith and all of those things that I think, again, that were grounded for when those times came. Didn't mean that they weren't hard or harsh, but I didn't have to stay stuck there.
Mm,
I take a look at, I could either use those times where it was difficult and be stuck there and stay sort of in that angry, bitter place and do work on
sure.
that. Or I could take that and go, I'm going to do better things. I'm going
Mm,
to prove you wrong. I'm going to do this. And some of that is just me and my innate nature, but that is, I think, over time, how I've come through those things. And then if I was talking with someone who is in that younger place, don't let yourself stay here
mm,
with that, but acknowledge this didn't feel good. This wasn't what you thought, but how can you use it and do something different, do something.
yes. We all have to recognize there will be moments that are not going to be great, to
Yeah.
your point, but to not sit in that and not to allow that to then define us going forward.
Yes.
Right. And I love your reframe of it's not just about being a woman or a woman of color or young or whatever our external presence is, that all of these things clearly matter and they definitely shape the way we move in the world and the way the world reacts to us. And we also have to then decide how we want to move through that and how we want to say, well, then screw you. Just watch me. So I think you're right. Everybody has their own lesson in that, regardless. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the reframe on the question because I think it's not just about being a woman. There are things about being a woman in the workplace for sure. There are forever and
Yes.
always. So as we wrap, this is the question that I love to ask every woman that I speak with, which is, as I'm looking at my work and this kind of bridging of personal and professional development with external strategy of whatever it is that you're building in the world, whether it's your business or whether it's the team you're leading. All of this is somehow in service of the legacy that you're building towards. And recognizing that legacy means something very different to everyone. And that's why I love this question because everybody answers it so differently. I recognize it will evolve when we chat together next year. But for this moment and for today, what does building a legacy mean for you?
Oh, that is such a great question. I love this question. I'm going to probably stumble through the answer, but
It's okay. It's okay. Everybody does in some way.
because I'm thinking of it, my mind kind of branched off into a few different facets. First, when I think of legacy, I was thinking of both my mom and my daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
thinking of the way I've become and built my business stems from some of the things I saw, both not just my dad, but my mother. And then I'm thinking of my daughter and how she's getting to see her mom be in the world and do things in the world and how I can keep carrying that forward. So that was kind of my initial impression with legacy. Then when I think kind of a step back into more of maybe my professional place of just going, I just hope the things that I'm involved in have an impact beyond me.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's that board I sit on that is making decisions and deciding to invest in different places, bringing in diverse voices to things, I want to make sure that whatever I'm involved in is creating that larger impact. And my company may go away because one day I'm not going to be here, but I hope that the work that I've been doing carries forward and becomes something greater and has an impact on somebody else.
Yes. And I'm guaranteed it will. That's like no question. All the work you've done to date, I'm sure has. And so you just get to build on top of that and create an even deeper impact, which is so exciting. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to watch your journey unfold and see all the great work that you're going to be doing in the future. So I just really appreciate you. And I'm so excited that we're connected. I'm so thrilled to be on an entrepreneurial journey alongside such a badass lady. So, yeah, just thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having this wonderful forum. Sharing a story is always exciting. And I love getting to hear more about yours as well through this conversation. And I'm excited to see as these conversations continue to evolve and what you're doing. I look forward to the parallel work we get to do.
Me too. Me too. So good to see you. Thank you again. And I will see you soon.
Yes.
Bye, Kyla.
Bye.